So this is really useful, basic information that you can look at on a regular basis. As you get used to this, you can bring up these reports quickly and interpret them quickly. You can set up dashboards to track them. I've set up dashboards in Excel. There's software that can help you set up dashboards. I would guess, I can't remember the name of the woman what was her name? I'm going to find her name in here. Oh, it's not in, I was looking to see if it was in chat. But the woman who's got the marketing analytics company, I'm sure that they would help you build a dashboard. That's got to be a part of what they're doing. So let's look at one more thing here, which is how do we set up Google Analytics? Because if you're just getting started, I'll tell you what, this looks like an incredible mystery. I'm going to take all the mystery out of it because it's actually a lot easier than it looks. So 5 steps. The first step, we've got to create a Google Analytics account. Then we've got to get what's called a tracking code, which is easy to do if you know how, and I'm going to show you the secret. We need to insert the tracking code in your website. Most of the instructions, if you Google if you go to Google and say, you know, how do I put the tracking code in my website? They will come back and tell you the hard way to do it. I'm going to show you an easier way to do it. And then you have to wait a couple days. I scared myself recently. I set up a site and I wasn't getting any data for a little bit, and I was worried that I'd messed something up. But then on the 3rd day, the data started to show up. So it does take Google Analytics a couple of days for the data to begin to show up, or germinate as I call it here. And then voila, the data is there. Okay, to create a Google Analytics account, this is free. Google loves you to do this work because it helps build their business, so they give all this stuff away free. So start with a Google email account. You have to be doing this from a Google email account. If you don't have one, they're easy to set up. And then you go to analytics.google.com and you're going to let's go forward, not back. When you go there, so notice in the upper left, the URL is analytics.google.com, and then they redirected me because this was, for this account, this is the first time I'd been there. And it tells me, welcome to Google Analytics, and it says, start measuring. That's a little optimistic because there's a few steps you got to do before you actually start measuring. So let's look at those. You click on start measuring and it says, okay, give me an account name. You can call it anything you want. If you want to call it Fred, you can call your account Fred. I usually try to use a descriptive term, but Fred works too. Then you go down to the bottom and click next. And it takes you to this page where you can say, I'm wanting to do analytics for my website, or I'm wanting to do analytics for my app, or I'm wanting to do both apps and web. I'm assuming most of you are working with websites, so you probably want to leave it at web. Click next. And now it's going to ask you to set up your property. Okay, so property, what Google calls a property, that's just your website. So they want the website name. You don't have to get technical with this. You can just call this on the SICC property, I think it just says SICC website is the website name. Here I made up a fake website called Monterey Digital Marketing Website. And then they want the URL. This is not fake. This has to be your real URL, although the one I put in here is fake, mdmwebsite.com. As far as I know, doesn't exist. It'll ask you to show an industry category. I just put other, and reporting time zone, it defaults to Los Angeles, close enough for our purposes. We click create, and we get to this page, which is really important. We now know we have created a property, and that property now has this magic number called a tracking ID. This is a very important number. You want to write that down or make sure that it's easily accessible, because if you're not used to this, you may have a little trouble getting back to it. Here's the secret. So I'm in a Google account just like I've been looking at all night, but instead of looking at these reports on the upper left, I'm down here in the settings. If you click on settings, or they call it admin in this account, then you're going to get to this view and you'll be able to get to your tracking ID if you don't have it. Now, you can do this the hard way. And if you're a coder, you might want to do it the hard way, in which case you copy and paste this code that's in the box and you insert that in the header of your website. And if you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. I actually don't either. If I had to insert this code into the header of my website, I would be in big trouble. That's what I have Anjika for. She knows how to do that, but I'm going to show you an easier way, and the way that I set up Google Analytics. Okay, so we've got the tracking ID. We need that tracking ID. And now we're going to go into our website. Now this is underneath the hood, as I like to call it, of the Startup Investment and Community Capital Expo website. And this is, if any of you have been in WordPress websites before, you'll immediately recognize this is a WordPress website, because this is what it looks like. Different websites are set up differently. WordPress is the most popular website builder, so there's a good chance your website looks like this. I have set up Google Analytics in a couple of others. I recently did one in, it was either shop.com or Shopify. I think it was Shopify, and they actually had a really easy way to set it up also. But let me show you how to do it inside WordPress. We're going to go to plugins. On the left column there, it says plugins. Plugins are little pieces of software that help you do things inside your website. They help with design. They add functionality to your website, which is what we're going to do here. So we're going to click on that, and it's going to take us to this list of plugins. Now, this website already has the plugin I'm going to kind of point you to, called GA Google Analytics. This is a free plugin. Don't got to pay anything for it. It's very easy to use, and it seems to be pretty much bulletproof. If you're doing this for your first time, this one will work great for you. If you don't have that plugin already installed in your website, then you just go up to the top of that page and you click on Add New. When you do that, then you're going to type in Google Analytics into the little search bar that it'll give you. And there's the plugin, Google Analytics, GA Google Analytics plugin. And this one says active in the upper right-hand corner. If Google Analytics were not already installed in this site, it would, like the other plugins there, it would say install now. You'd click on that, it installs itself. It's amazingly simple to do. Once it's installed, you go to settings, you click on settings. That brings you to this page. You click on plug-in settings, and it brings you here, and you're going to put your Google Analytics tracking ID into that box. I just cut and paste. The Google Analytics is in there, and you are almost ready to go. Got to go down to the bottom of this page. You might want to click on disable tracking of admin level users. That way Google, if you're an admin for your website, when you go to your website, Google will ignore you and not treat you like all other users. Then you click on Save Changes, et voila. You have Google Analytics installed on your site. Wait a few days, then go back to your Google Analytics account, and you'll see the data starting to show up in there. And that's our tour of Google Analytics for tonight. But a few things I want to say at the end. Something important to understand, Google Analytics only tracks data going forward. That is, if you don't have Google Analytics installed on your site and there are people visiting your site, you will not ever know it. Because when you do install Google Analytics, it will start measuring visitors at that point. It doesn't go back and pick up the data that wasn't collected. So start now. Google Analytics takes some practice and study. Google wants you to understand Google Analytics, so they have set up this Google Analytics Academy. It's a series of well-designed short modules. I highly recommend them. They will teach you Google Analytics. And there's a basics course, there's an advanced course, and then there's a power users course, and you can go on forever and get your PhD in Google Analytics if you want. You don't need to, but that's highly recommended for learning Google Analytics. There are other tools related to Google Analytics that are very useful that down the road are worth getting to know. One of those is Google Search Console, and that will help you with making your site more searchable. There's Google PageSpeed Insights. One of the key attributes of a website in terms of whether Google likes your website. And if Google doesn't like your website, it isn't going to show it to people when they're searching. So you want Google to like your website. Google likes fast websites. If you think about that for a moment, why does Google like fast websites? Well, what they'll tell you is that it's better for the user experience. The faster your site loads, the more your users appreciate it. That's very true. That is absolutely true. That's 100% true. The other side of this is Google spends an enormous amount of resources crawling your website, crawling all of our websites. They're continuously going out there and they literally think of it as they're taking photos of everybody's websites and they're storing them into searchable databases. So they want those websites to load very, very fast because it speeds up their work. So Google has page speed insights to help you make your site faster. Then there's Google Ads. Even if you're not using Google Ads, you probably want to set up Google Ad Manager because it enables some other functionality inside of Google Analytics, which is a little beyond this talk, but just know that that's there. And finally, Facebook Pixel, which is the Facebook equivalent of the Google Analytics tracking code, except that Facebook doesn't make it as easy as Google Analytics. But if you're using Facebook, you should get Facebook Pixel set up and working for your sites. And that does bring me to the end of the tour. There is, by the way, there's one other tool, and I meant to have it in here, but I didn't put it in here. But it's a really important tool, and I'm going to put it in chat. It's called URL Builder. It's very easy to use. I'm going to go back into share screen for just a second because I really did intend to say a little bit about URL Builder because I consider it so important to what we do. So I'm just going to do a Google search for URL Builder, and Google's going to campaign URL tracking, easy to use affiliate platform. I don't want to go there. That's an ad. I want to go down here to campaign URL Builder, Google Analytics demos and tools. And I'm going to click on that. And that brings me to this page where they have what they call campaign URL Builder. So if I put in my website.
Could you share your screen with us, Brad?
I'm sorry?
Could you share your screen with us?
Oh, I thought I was. I'm sorry. I thought I was. Thank you for mentioning that I wasn't. I missed clicking a button. Is it working now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I did a simple Google search for URL builder and got the link to here. And this is the URL builder. You put in your website URL. So if I'm going to do something for 21cm.global, which is our website, and the campaign source. So this is, I'm going to be doing a newsletter. So I'm going to call this a newsletter. And the medium, in this case, that's going to be a newsletter also. I'm just going to use the same thing. And the campaign, so this is our July 20 newsletter that we're sending out. And I'm going to ignore the campaign term and campaign content, but note that down here at the bottom, it has created this crazy looking URL. What I want to do is when I send out my newsletter, somewhere in the newsletter, there's going to be a button saying, visit us at our website. And in that button, I'm going to use this URL as the link to my website. And then when somebody clicks on that newsletter link and goes to my website, Google Analytics is going to pick it up and say, oh, that person came from here, and it'll show up in my Google Analytics so I can see how many people got to my website from that specific link in my newsletter. And that's why I wanted to demonstrate this. This is such an important tool to use. It should be a standard. If you send out a newsletter, don't just link your website in there. Use this URL builder so that you know exactly where your traffic is coming from. And you can just click copy URL here, and that copied it. And you
So
can
Brad,
also convert it to a short link. Yes.
quick question. Where do you exactly insert this URL? You insert what in your newsletter, like in a text,
Yeah.
or
So if suppose in the text I'm talking about something and I say find out more at our website. And the way I would normally do that is I would turn the at our website, or maybe the whole phrase find out more at our website. I'd turn that whole thing into a link,
got it?
clickable link. And this is what I would use to put in that link. That will take them to our website. It doesn't take them to a weird place. It takes them right to our website. But Google Analytics sees that URL and says, oh, this came from that newsletter. It's not quite that simple, but close to it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, got it?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is, if
So
you're,
find out more is part of this address as well, this URL, URL, sorry. Which part is the name that is the extension? Which part of that URL is the extension?
okay, let me, I'll demonstrate this in this way. So I copied that. Now, there's a simple way to do this. So suppose I'm going to create a new Google Doc, okay, and I'm going to type in here, find out more at our website. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to go here and click on insert link, and I'm going to paste that URL that I just built in URL Builder, click
Got it.
apply, and now if I click on that, you can see it has that really bizarre, but that will help me track that. I'll know when that shows up in the source report in my Google Analytics, I'll know exactly where that person came from. So this helps you know. You should do this with your social media. Anytime you've got a link in your social media, don't just put your website link in there. Put a special link that's for that post, so then you know that post got you X amount of traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So
Thank you.
this has become a standard part of our practice in creating links from any kind of outreach that we do. Cool.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Other questions? Great. Well, I thank everybody for joining us. Let me go back for just a second to my slide deck. I think I'm still sharing my stuff. So what else? Topics for the, oh, so this is important. So this is an audience participation portion of this, which is I'm going to ask everybody to please put one or more topic into chat that you would like to see us cover in these meetups. We're always trying to find out what does our audience want to hear about. We know what we want to talk about and dig into. And I love doing these presentations because it makes me dig into things a little bit more deeply and learn some things that I missed along the way. But I would love it if you would put into chat. Let's see what's showing up here. We've got, yes, can you create multiple Google Analytic accounts under one Gmail account? Yes, you can. Remember early on in the presentation, I showed you in my account, I've got like, I don't know, there are at least 8 different website properties in there. There are 8 different accounts inside that single Google Analytics account. By the way, you can also, in your Google Analytics account, you can allow other people to see the data from your website, right? So if you've got somebody managing your website, or if there are multiple of you that need to see the Google Analytics data, you can do that really easily inside that account. What else we got here? Is Google able to crawl into other websites and track if it's incognito mode private browsing? Now, okay, so there's a distinction there between a website and a browser. So Google crawls websites and it collects data from your browser, especially if you're in a Chrome browser, which many of us use. I'm a very heavy user of Chrome browsers. But you can go incognito in your browser, put it in incognito mode, in which case Google can't track what you're doing in your browser. But remember, your browser is different than a website. A website's a different thing out there. And whatever mode you have your browser in doesn't affect that website. Now, it's possible if people, now I'm understanding what this question is actually asking. If people are going to your website and they're using the private mode in their browser, then does Google know they've been on your website? No. It does mess up your statistics if a lot of people are using private browsing or incognito mode. So encourage your friends all to use regular mode. And we got suggestions. SEO traffic basics. SEO is absolutely on our list. Where can you get the recording? We will post this recording on our website. And let's see, is Anjika still there? Yeah, Anjika, could you cut and paste the link to our Meetup page into the chat?
Yeah.
So people can get to it? Google ads and Facebook ads, absolutely, that's great. Organic traffic in all possible ways. And Mailchimp and how it can help visibility off your website. So integrating Mailchimp and the website, that's a great topic. Those are great. That will keep us busy for a while. I love those topics, and we will definitely work on those. In the meantime, any way that we can be helpful, we're here to help. Let's see, I think we've got, there's contact, there's my email address, Kennedy's, and Anjika. Anjika does our web and graphic design, Kennedy, social media and video. And I don't do anything useful. I just sort of direct the whole thing and do stuff like branding and etc. So feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to help. And
Thank you, Brad. This was great.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
so
Thanks,
much.
everybody.
Cool. hope to see you back next month. And we'll let you know what topic we pick for next month, because we haven't picked it yet.
Brad, do you have a minute right after everyone signs off?
Absolutely. We can just stay on. And
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye all. Have a great night, great weekend. Be safe.
Thank you.
Wear your masks.
For sure.
Thanks, Jenny. Appreciate it. Looking forward to our digital marketing seminar in the fall. Getting that rolling again. So we've got Saul on here and Jenny on here. Kennedy's just hanging out, which is fine. Looks like Anjika left. So-
Brad, do you need anything from me?
I don't think so. I've got this. I'm going to stop the recording. So
All right.
I will let you know when